All right, welcome to the latest edition of the FPL America podcast. This is David Smith.
Travis Hoig.
Brian Chesko.
Gentlemen, we have tons to talk about. At least it seems like that. Before we do that, Travis, I'm going to tell a little story here that's going to make you upset.
A lot of things make
It's going to make you cry. Because you're a man of meat. You know your way around the smoker and or the grill, and you are you have a high level skill when it comes to the meats.
I don't know about high level skill, but it is something that I do.
I promise everyone he's being humble. All right, so my family went out of town this weekend to my parents' house. I'm going to be joining them Wednesday morning, and I was downstairs doing some laundry yesterday, ran downstairs, maybe it was Sunday, and it smelled like, I was in a rush, and it smelled like a dead animal.
Oh.
And there's no way a dead animal could have gotten to this laundry room because there was two doors closed in front of it. We don't even use a door goes to the outside from the back, but nothing comes in that door. That door never opens.
Okay.
So I didn't have time to mess with it, so I just kind of walked out. This might be Monday morning. I smelled something, but I was in a rush. So I get back today, and I go back downstairs to rotate laundry again, and it's stronger. And I'm
it's getting worse.
Oh, gosh, what has happened? We have a stand-up freezer down there.
Oh, no.
The stand-up freezer, which is full of I think it was a 280-pound hanging weight hog.
Oh, boy.
No, the hanging weight, yeah, once it was stripped, yes, that's when I think they do the hanging weight. It was before, it was after they stripped it. Anyways, tons of amazing meat from my in-laws' farm, from one of their hogs.
That's
so I open it, and it's the freezer's still running, but not freezing. So it was still cold. It was not cold refrigerator cold, but it was not warm. But some of the things had thawed. And anyway, so before I came here, there's 2 bags in the back of my truck. Now, there was a lot that was salvageable, and I talked to my sister-in-law, who she's been farming for years. This has happened to them a couple times. Not anymore. They've taken measures, but early days, freezers crapping out on them. And she said, "Hey, if it's still cold, if it's still at minimum cool, it's probably still going to be fine. Just get it in the freezer as quick as possible."
With something smelling like that, that's unfortunate.
Well, there was an open pack of chicken feet that was in there that had started to thaw out.
Chicken feet?
Yeah, dogs love them, by the way.
Oh, okay.
You can literally throw them a frozen chicken foot.
I thought you were eating the chicken feet.
No. Those are special doggy treats. So someone had gotten moved down there. I don't think I did it, but whatever, doesn't matter.
So that was the source of the smell.
I think it was. So we'll find out. There was something anyway. So we have a fridge next to it, and there was stuff in the freezer, but that was just it was meat that had possibly gone bad that we were eventually going to feed to the dog. So I cleaned that out. That's gone. Dog stomachs can handle a little bit more than ours. So anyways, cleaned that out. That's gone. And then I filled that and then took all the other stuff to the upstairs freezer.
Yeah.
But there was a lot. I don't know, probably 60 pounds of meats. And like my sister-in-law said, she said, "Hey, listen, when you cook it, you'll smell it when you cook it. If it becomes a problem."
Out.
And then so hopefully, like I said, it was not warm. It was still lightly chilled.
That's unfortunate, though.
But that's what I've been doing the last hour, and then had enough time to shower before I got here. It has not been a fun afternoon.
Rough.
Anyway, so
that's what that smell is now down here.
Is that what you smell?
Yes.
Explains why.
I did shower afterwards.
Okay.
Yeah. You smell like a rotten hog.
Oh, man. just uncool.
Did you smell the brisket when you came in, by the way?
Could smell it.
My
there
nose
was
is a little stuffy, so
smoky
technically I
and
didn't.
delicious in here, yeah.
Another good time to have a little bit of a stuffy nose when you're having to deal with all that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Anyways, all right, let's enough nonsense there, enough sad meat talk. Let's Brian, what are we going to discuss?
Game week 12 is over. Game week 13 is this weekend, and a few things happened, and should probably talk about them and see if it can get you ready.
All right, let's do it. Travis, throw the schedule up there.
Let's do it.
So I can see it. I know this.
Not to drag meats back into this, but the legitimately good deal.
I have something else about meats. Go ahead.
If you're near a Buffalo Wild Wings, it's a 6 for $19.99. It's
6
so you
for
choose
$19.99.
2 entrees, 2 sides, and you get 2 drinks
For $19.99.
$19.99.
Wow.
So that's either bone-in wings, boneless wings, a pretty substantial double smash burger, double cheeseburger.
Okay.
Or their chicken sandwich.
Wow.
You pick 2 of those.
This
and
pod
2
sponsored
sides.
by Buffalo Chicken
I
Wings.
mean, I would happily take a beat-up sponsorship.
Also,
it is
Kind of hungry.
It was,
I could go with for beat
look,
ups.
I know it's not like
it's not
the greatest
Sure,
wings.
it's not
I'm
top
not
notch.
making any
Right.
claim in that direction.
Serviceable.
It's fine though, and this deal is actually it's a good
Very
deal.
good.
all right. On
Just
that
wanna throw
note,
that out there.
just so I can complain
Thanks.
a little
That's
bit.
really helpful.
Meats.
Yeah, this is a meat podcast. So I go to Chipotle for lunch.
Good.
Only
No.
because I want their smoked brisket.
Okay.
I go
It's
in there
all
at
right.
like 12:01.
It's all right.
gone.
It's right.
Sure. Look, Mr. Smoked Brisket, who's
Well, they
got a
sear
brisket,
it. And it's just weird that they
resting.
sear it.
It's
I don't
fine.
understand why they do
it's
that.
still I wanted that, a little bit of it. So because I'm not a, like when I go into Chipotle, I look at the meats that are there.
Whatever you're feeling.
You want the
and whatever
nicest
looks the
looking
best.
meats.
Yeah,
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah, no, that's good.
I go with
I like
that
that.
almost every time.
Chicken refreshes constantly, so the chicken almost
Typically,
always looks
looked
good.
dried out to me when I looked at it
Okay.
today.
All right.
So
I want barbacoa there every time I go.
okay.
I
Carnitas.
love
Carnitas, unless it's
are
really
amazing.
fatty.
Carnitas
I want
are
it to be
extremely
known.
good.
It is like 11:55 when I go in.
All right. 11:55.
It is lunchtime. Lunch rush is about to come in, and I probably barely beat it. There's no brisket.
It's gone.
I said,
They didn't start
I
it.
look
or it's
in there.
gone
I said,
already?
"Where's the brisket?" And the girl who was helping me out, she just started because the other guy was kind of helping her. Like, oh yeah, that's enough rice. Okay, great. So she looks at the other guy. She said, "Do we have any brisket?" And he looks over and I said, "Listen, I'll wait if it's cooking." He looks back and goes, "No, we don't have any cooking." He goes, "Let me check." So he checked like the takeout side.
Yeah.
He came back and goes, "No, we don't have any.
That's weird.
We don't." I
That's
said,
a
"Are you
big
going to
thing.
cook some?" Yeah, I think so.
I'll come back in half an hour.
I'm thinking to myself, it's your specialty item that you advertise everywhere. How is it not ready to go at lunch hour? You're going into your busiest hour of the day and you don't have your prime thing? I didn't tongue lash him. That was going through my mind. I
see.
gave him a little flack, but it was not. It was a cordial sort of joking there. Anyways,
I'm not a difficult customer.
I'm not. Listen, my
I
wife
can't.
was in the service industry
I don't
for
care.
years.
I don't
So-
care enough about whatever it is
And I know that
to
half
make them feel bad.
Right. Half the time, it's not the people in there. This guy was at least some form of a manager. And so I'm like, you really don't have any brisket? Anyways, that's as far as I took it. But in my mind,
So you
I
didn't
was
get it. Are you going back
thinking
tomorrow?
bad thoughts. No. So, Brian, I got the barbacoa.
Wow.
And it was delicious. It was
believe
fine.
you.
But daggone it. Anyways, all right, enough meat talk. Let's dive into Manchester City 0, Tottenham 4. We're not going to go through every game, but we are going to start with City. City has lost 5 matches in all competitions in a row. It is bizarre when you look at the FPL website or the Premier League website and you look at the table and you see Manchester City with 3 straight losses. And what also kind of stuck out to me, there are 2 wins before those 2 losses. They beat Southampton 1-0. And then they beat Wolves 2-1. So not only had they lost 3 in a row, but they barely beat the bottom 2 teams in the table. And yes, we'll get to Liverpool in a minute, but that's the difference between Liverpool and City right now. Liverpool cannot play great, still figure out a way to win. City can't. I mean, City technically won that game. I don't remember exactly how or when. I think they scored very early in the game, and the rest of the game there was nothing. It's just shocking to me, like what. I guess here's the question for everyone who still owns Haaland and or Gardeval at this point, because I'm one of those people.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying there's any defenders completely knocking it out of the park at the moment, but I guess the question for everyone and what everyone's asking themselves is, number one, if they own Haaland, at what point do I let him go? Or, is this going to turn around? I guess that's the first question. Is this actually going to turn around? Because this stretch that they're in continues to go on, and they're playing 11 points or 9 points in the table, 8 points in the table behind Liverpool, and they're playing them this upcoming week.
Yeah.
In a permanent weekly segment, apparently we're going to have that I'd like to call "Did I Sell Haaland Yet?" No, I still did not.
All right, so
don't worry though. Pep says the comeback will happen. So the answer to the question is, Pep says yes, he will score 2 or 3 goals in a game soon. To remind everyone who he is.
Okay,
yeah, I agree. I agree.
We're not doubting, and again, we haven't necessarily mentioned it on the pod, but so I'm not worried about.
I'm saying it tongue in cheek. I mean, he can say whatever he wants. It just keeps. I mean,
it kind of continues. Look, again, he's horribly underperforming his XG. Right, the amount of big chances, and he had big chances in this game and continued to miss them. I can only link this back to, and I don't make the rules. I just tell you what seems to happen. And the Daily Mail had an article this week on Haaland's numbers since he told Arteta to stay humble.
Yeah.
And we had mentioned it briefly in the pod. I never wanted to bring it up because I kind of didn't want to jinx it because I like to see him struggle.
Yeah.
Especially when I don't own him in fantasy. And because I haven't owned him for the last at least 3 weeks, at least 3 or 4 weeks. 3 weeks maybe. Anyways, but
the ship is going to ride itself.
The robot, you have to believe it. But for the people who continue to, I guess that's the question. And Brian, I want to hear you try to answer this here in a second. But you own him too, don't you, Travis?
I do.
So at what point? But Travis, you've been able to survive a little bit.
It's going to be next week
because you own Salah.
Yeah.
Right. So you own. Who don't you? Do you have Saka in your midfield? You don't own Saka.
I don't have Saka
you
or
have Palmer.
And
you have Bruno.
I do.
Okay.
So all that to say, honestly, it's going to be next week.
You think Haaland's going to explode on Liverpool?
I don't think he'll explode on Liverpool, but I do think that they'll come back. I do think that they're going to arrest the slide next week. Manchester City is struggling because, I mean, for lack of a better way of describing it, is they're used to people attacking them or sitting deep, right? And the teams that attack them, they tend to punish. The teams that sit deep, they find a way to unlock, right? Teams are sitting deep, and they don't have the answer. They don't have the answer.
All right. I want to also ask this.
Liverpool's going to attack them.
Multiple weeks. Coming off international break, De Bruyne is still being subbed in.
He's just not the guy anymore. There's no like that.
No.
He's done.
This is a serious question, Brian. This is now the 3rd game that he's subbed in.
Yeah.
And so for the last
it doesn't do anything.
5 weeks, he's subbed in. And at what point does he play more? He's coming off an international break.
Doing anything. That's the thing. Watching De Bruyne now, he just passes the ball laterally over and over and over and over again.
Well, so the one sequence that I know City fans shared, or at least I saw, kind of the hope of like, please De Bruyne, like we need you back in here doing this, is the sequence. It was just a 1-2 that he played with Haaland that it required an unbelievable save.
Yes, from Vicario.
And that is from Vicario.
Yeah.
Right. So that's like that's one where you're like, if on a different, maybe week 3, that just goes between the keeper's legs or it dinks over top of him or whatever, and it goes in, and that's De Bruyne assist, Haaland goal, and we're not, we're talking about how he's back again, or at least he got something. It's still not enough for anybody. I mean, that's been the argument all along, is that he's too expensive to get one goal. So a 5 or a 6. From
you said
15,
something a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
He has to greatly exceed.
Yeah, and again, I wish I could fully credit the person that I saw that said that it's not simply that he has to score, it's that he has to massively outscore all the other assets, even Salah, because of the price difference.
Yeah.
And so that is the most compelling argument, and that was an argument that was made at least 3 weeks ago that I remember, maybe more. So
because he wasn't tanking, but he wasn't massively outscoring.
Even in the Southampton game where he's it was a triple captain option. That was the prevalent pundit view, was against a home game against the worst team and the worst defense in the league, triple captain option, and he gets a goal in the 3rd minute or whatever, and you feel like, oh, here it is. Here's the quarter pounder.
This is it.
Here's the Abraham Lincoln of 5 goals. Abe Lincoln. Remember that?
Oh, I know. I've been waiting for
either way,
Honest Abe for a while.
An Honest Abe. It never happened, and it still is not happening. Big Man Bacher on X, really great breakdown. Since game week 10, the point plus factoring in captaincy, the point differential between Haaland and Salah is 74 to 18. 74 points for Salah to 18 for Haaland. For me, that's the end of the season. We're prepping for 2025. See you next year. Total expected goal involvement, though, since game week 10. Salah, 3.51. Haaland, 3.27. It's a 56-point difference from the almost exact same goal involvement. And that's factoring in that Salah has way more assist potential in any given week than Haaland does. The fact that they're even that close shows you how good of a goal-scoring opportunity he's had since game week 10, and it's led to nothing. He's been massively outscored by, definitely Matheus Cunha, but there's not one forward that you would have considered having over him, except maybe Kai Havertz and Dominic Solanke. And I think even Solanke has outscored him in that time.
I was just about to give you a stat on that as I was checking this out. So, guys who have scored more than Haaland in the last 5 match weeks. Mr. Delap from Ipswich, Mr. Vissa, Watkins, Welbeck, Chris Wood, Nico Jackson, Cunha, and there might be a few more that I might have missed.
For sure. It's just that the point swing, for it to be that big, the fact that that in all those weeks, and even this week, like Salah is gifted 2 goals. Those are gift goals.
I know.
It's a goalkeeping error that leads to his first goal.
Yep.
And then the second is from a penalty.
We'll get to that.
Doesn't need to happen. And there's 2 goals. He goes from like that first half where finally I think anyone who didn't have him is like, oh, thank goodness it's over or it's ending, and then it doesn't end.
Right.
It just is ongoing, and he could have had more. I mean, he should have had more.
He at least should have had one more.
Right.
He had one off the inside of the post.
Yeah.
The fact that it's like just absolutely soaring.
All right.
Yeah. It's
so.
City wasn't terrible in that
They lost 4-0.
So think about it this way.
When do they ever lose at home?
I'm with you. So 57% possession. They had the ball, right? So that's good. So what did they do with the ball? 23 shots.
How many on target?
5 on target.
Okay, probably.
23 shots is a lot of shots.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Right? 9 corners. They're moving the ball around, 566 passes. Only offside twice. Something is wrong.
The guy that felt wrong.
The number.
Did you watch it?
Yeah, I didn't watch all of it, but I watched highlights.
All of it.
The one number that I do want to point out here is fouls conceded 19.
Uh-huh.
That's a lot of fouls conceded. Everything was super soft.
Why
throughout that match?
Why are you committing fouls?
Well, I think a lot of it was frustration towards the end of the match, and that happens. But you're not
first to the 50-50s.
press is the press is important, right? Winning the ball back is important.
City is not pressing right now.
Well,
they cannot effectively press.
Why are they fouling like that? They just going down on guys?
They are not giving enough and or aren't quick enough to get to the 50-50s. This goes back to Wolves. This goes back
Bernardo
to
maybe.
This
Bernardo
goes
maybe,
back.
but the rest of them,
they don't have the juice. Is not there, and I'm telling you, it's now in their psyche. For anyone who thinks, I think that this is just going to turn around. It might. They are playing someone this week in Champions League that they should I think it's Feyenoord this week that they absolutely must beat. If they don't win that game or at least turn out a performance, there is zero chance they're just going to show up. They have no mojo. I refuse to believe there's no switch that they're going to flick. Rodri's not coming back into that lineup.
Yeah.
There is no switch that they're flicking that is going to turn this around when they play Liverpool. I refuse to believe that.
I think they come out strong against Liverpool. They are down yet another player. It sounds like Kovacic is
already ruled out for weeks.
Is not,
so that does not help them either.
So they're going to be soft in the middle again. I hear you. I just know
as a Liverpool person, years of being scarred from them. Excuse me.
I think they find a way.
You will not be able to be confident in boasting that Liverpool is going to come out probably and roast them. I'm not saying that they're going to get shellacked 4-0 like Spurs just did to them, because Spurs, whatever, seems to be a bogey team. But let me tell you something. Who strikes more fear in me with their offense, Liverpool or Spurs? It's absolutely Liverpool.
Yeah.
And I'm not throwing shade on Spurs. Spurs were amazing in this game. Spurs are an enigma to me. I can't figure them out.
We'll talk about
I don't think anyone can figure them out.
Yeah.
They're amazing one week, and then the next week they're just not as amazing. But they knew from when this game happened, number one, Spurs absolutely owned the midfield. Basuma and Sarr were absolutely all over the midfield.
Yeah.
And because of that,
and that's going to keep happening.
It is because they don't have anyone in there that can make a difference.
Yeah.
And they're not just showing up. They're in big trouble. No matter what anyone says, they don't have Rodri, Kovacic. There is absolutely no plan C. John Stones is their next best holder in the midfield, and I promise you, he can't do it. So, will he be in the game? Yeah, he'll be playing. Will he do anything? No. Rico Lewis, did he do anything? He got yanked. I'm just telling you. There is no person. Pep sees it. City. This is a slide, and City needs to worry about finishing in the top 4. And I'm saying that right now.
Dave, to your beginning point, from Paddy Power, again, the aftermath of Haaland telling Arteta to stay humble needs to be studied at the highest levels.
Look. I don't care what anyone believes. I said this earlier. I don't make the rules. I didn't finish what I was going to say. I don't make the rules, but certain rules are there. You get too proud about something, you're going to get crushed.
Yeah. That's what happened to Arsenal. They collapsed.
It's very possible.
They got too proud.
Very possible, but didn't happen this week.
Yeah, no. This,
and yet there's still 9 points.
Even
behind.
with if we want to
catch City,
you want to slowly blend it into Spurs, just to say that that was after 20 seconds. Yves Bissouma gets a yellow card, and as soon as that happened, and then the action subsequent to that, crazy. It looked like it really was going to be City.
I know.
Steamrolling
I agree.
them.
For the first 3 minutes,
it finally felt like they were putting the performance together. I thought.
And then Tottenham just stole their soul, man. I'm just telling you. They're so soft in the midfield, and they don't have any answers. It doesn't matter how much wing play you get, and or if Haaland's on the pitch.
That's all they are. They're just...
Take it down the side and pass it in the middle and hope to God how Haaland can bail them out.
And their defense, clear.
Their defense has never looked more shaky. They have no protection in front of them.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, they are in absolute trouble.
Yeah.
26 clearances from Spurs, and it was not hard.
I thought Savinho, I mean, as good as he
The worst game I've ever seen him play.
He can look good. I just thought that
he looked horrible.
His end product was so bad constantly
poor
through the game. I thought that his rating would be extremely low. Actually, your low man per who scored's ratings for the match, James, what's his middle name? I don't know, Foden, goes for a 5.7, lowest rated performance other than Jack Grealish coming off the bench.
Right.
But Grealish had an error that led to goal. But for the starters, Foden, lowest rated player of the game, followed closely by Ederson, and then Kyle Walker and Gvardiol and Akanji. But either way,
like they don't even have a glimpse of anyone playing good for them right
Foden, now. I did see somebody
Philip
say
Walker.
Foden. I did see Philip Thomas Foden. I did see.
Gave you the right one.
It was a City fan that said, "Hey, look, we praise the guy in his great moments. Like, almost no one deserves as much criticism right now as he does. He's been awful.
He was player of the season last year.
And he's been awful.
And he's been completely awful. Anyways, this to get back to the question, for anyone who owns Haaland, when are you cutting bait?
Well, isn't there a saying that best time to start something was yesterday? The next best time to start it
was the day before.
Is now.
Okay, is that
I
time?
Think that feels like that
Brian
kind of
J.
applies. I don't know.
Are you ready to sell him right now on the pod? Like now? Like actually now?
Brian never makes on the pod moves. I love making them. I've already made my move.
I've already made my move. I've already made my one transfer that I know for sure I'm making.
We'll talk about that. We'll talk about it.
I mean, after the hits that I took last week, which should have included Haaland out, I don't know how anybody going into the game week after the performances you've just seen from Spurs. Yeah. I don't know how. It didn't matter. Spurs, City, anybody that was looking at it from the outside, anybody that saw it was expecting this to be a thrashing. The other way. I think the expectation was 4-0 City, and this was finally it. And the fact that it went so far the opposite direction, I mean, I don't know how it's not. Like somebody, again, I wish I could credit all these people. It was somebody that said, how are we second? Like a City fan that is looking at the table and is like, how are we? It doesn't feel like they should be in second, but they are. The fact that they are in second.
Well, they're out of one cup. They're out of and then they lost the Champions League game. So those are 2 of the 5 losses in a row. But when they were going into the Bournemouth match, this is after Bournemouth had just given Arsenal or had just beaten Arsenal. Again, let's give credit to Bournemouth. They beat Arsenal and City in back-to-back games. That's when I sold Haaland going into after he scored against Southampton in the first 5 minutes and then did nothing the rest of the game. I sold him then, so I've had Salah the last 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. And I remember, I'm pretty sure on the pod, I said, I don't like they're at Bournemouth. I don't like that. It sounds crazy, but I don't like that. And I definitely don't like them at Brighton. And then he did score against Brighton, but also got a yellow card, so he had a total of 5.
Yeah.
And then they got thrashed against Tottenham. And look, I would have thought he could have got a goal against Tottenham. It's not like Tottenham has been this great stellar defense all year. They've had moments where they've been good, but it's like, is this going to be good week Tottenham or bad week Tottenham? I thought for sure he'd get chances. He did get chances. He couldn't convert. And And then I was looking at the schedule when I saw the Bournemouth, Brighton, Tottenham, and then Liverpool, and then they got Palace. They have a little relief. I mean, I'm sorry, not Palace. They have Forest. They're home Forest, and Forest is going to give them a good game. And then they're away to Palace, and then they have United and Villa after that. It doesn't let up much for them, in my opinion. Again, they got a breather at Palace, but I don't know. Crystal Palace showed up against Villa and gave them a 2-2 game this past
I
week.
guess it depends. I mean, I expect that Liverpool is not going to be as down for the game against Manchester City as they were for Southampton. It's Liverpool defensively giving up 2 goals to a team like Southampton. I mean, really, you're losing.
Hold on, we're going to get to Liverpool.
I'm just saying, like, Liverpool's not exact. I mean, they
should give them a game.
They've been a top defense,
but you have to think about what Tottenham was doing. Tottenham started Ben Davies
at center back.
Right. Well, I think he played outside. But
no,
he
did
right.
not.
Yeah,
he played center back.
Yeah,
him
you're
and
right. Dragusin played outside.
Center back, and it was
Udogie and Poro played
on
the wings. Yeah, I mean, you gotta like your chances against Ben Davies, right?
That was the point of holding him. That was the point of captaining him.
And then
for anyone, I mean, that's why I did.
And then
agree. Completely
it didn't
agree.
matter.
So, anyways, all that being said,
I just don't. I mean, Forest. We talked about it. Forest as a defense has been very good, but the last 2 games they've been off the boil. But playing for whatever reason, I don't know how Newcastle scored 3 on them. I still don't. And then of course Arsenal's going to be Arsenal, or they're back up again. So, but that's whatever. And then Palace, but Manchester United is a work in progress. There's nothing scary about that defense. And then Villa's defense is the most havable defense that there is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're saying it's not that bad. I think it's tougher than you're saying. That's just my opinion.
I mean, those colors make it seem like it's tougher than it is. I think Nottingham Forest, depending on who shows up there. I guess this is the
it's
one
home to Forest too.
The one possibility is they've been the juggernaut, and if there's blood in the water and all of these garbage teams can have a crack at them,
yeah,
I think everybody would want to knock them down further if they can. But I don't want to get into predicting like what the game script is going to look like.
I agree.
Just what should happen is whatever. You
don't want to make a bet.
No, because if you had said I will give you $100 for free if you bet that Spurs will win 4-0.
Right.
I would have said I don't think I'm going to take that bet.
Right.
I don't even want to take the chance that you'll give me $100 because I just don't think it's going to happen. What's the point? And they did. They walked through it. So again, advice from this pod. I would say I still own Gardeval, but I'm not taking a hit to move him out. At this point. If you're not on a wild card and you don't have multiple transfers. So I've already made the one transfer I can because it was even money for me to.
So was mine.
My even money swap was to sell a City player, which Phil Foden is no longer in my team. I had enough money to go straight up before the price change to go from Foden to Saka.
Okay.
So that was such a no-brainer move.
Sure.
I did like last week. It was to free up money to make some kind of move like that. Instead of selling Foden last week like I should have, I sold James Madison. If you want to move that,
I do want to move to Spurs.
The Spurs part, we can do that.
All right, Travis.
But it would be a hit for me at this point to sell Haaland,
and so
and I'd be selling him for Nicholas Jackson. Like to me, that would be the move that I'm making.
I mean, I'd do it for Pedro at the moment or Cunha. Even if he does score against Liverpool, I don't think he's scoring a hat trick. I don't think he's pouring on them. Even if he gets one, he got one against Southampton. He got one against Brighton. So he's gotten ones here. It just doesn't look like it's the grog smash that happened the first 5 weeks of the season and all last year, and we just can't seem. But the team, it's not even Haaland; it's the team around him, and I think he is now where before he was getting
isolated.
Hear me here. That's not even a thing. Hear me now. I think what's going on is he is now trying to force every minor chance he gets because he's not getting as many chances as he was getting before. And or his quality of chances are less, and he's having to try to do more, and it's just not happening.
If you take away Holland from City and just put 3 guys on him,
and they don't have a plan B.
There's no one else
who can play the position
score right now. Yeah.
And that's why they are so reliant on him.
Yeah.
They don't have anyone else because Foden's not doing it.
Yeah.
And De Bruyne keeps subbing in for 18 minutes in the game. Anyways, all right, enough about City. I think I'd stay away from them right now. I really would. If you could. I agree with Brian. Is it worth taking a hit? Probably not.
So Tottenham beat them. So the question now is, do we go to Tottenham now?
So one thing I can't fully understand, but I guess I do, is because Tottenham's been so hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, hot, cold, 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 hot, is how many of their guys, Son, Kulusevski, Madison, all these guys are in the single digits of ownership, with the exception of one guy, and that's Porro at 27%.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone else is in the single digits.
Good job to all of those set and forget teams with Pedro Porro in them.
Agree.
Amazing.
So I just wonder, Brian, in your opinion, is there any of these Spurs you would be willing to make a move to? I know you just sold Madison last week. Brutal move. Of course, it's his birthday, and he gets a brace against
Why didn't you
City.
guys tell me it was his birthday?
If I would have known, those are the things that I hate finding out, and or the wild stat where like every time a player plays this team, they have a career day, and those stats always kind of blow my mind.
To me, there is no action item definitive for Spurs.
It's still a hold.
Buy whoever, sure.
Okay.
Sell whoever, sure. Like I honestly don't know what to say. Nothing sums Spurs up better than the variation of a tweet from a variety of Spurs fans, but I think the one specifically from the only Rob MDK on X.
Okay.
Best team in the world, Tottenham. Worst team in the world, Tottenham. Like some version of that was out there in the wild. Some variation of we're the best, we're the worst. This team is pure chaos. Another at HLTCO on Twitter said exactly that. Chaos, absolute chaos, and listed the last 6 results for them, which is losing 1-0 at Palace, beating City 2-1 in the AFL Cup, crushing Villa 4-1 at home, losing to
Ipswich,
Galatasaray.
Oh yeah,
in the Europa League 3-2, giving Ipswich their first away win in 20 years or whatever it was in the league, losing to them 2-1, and then smashing City at City. Like the biggest swing week to week. You have no idea what to expect. I was going to say, Madison, I mean, just kill me.
That's a real kick in the nuts.
Sorry,
so it was a -8. Sold Havertz to get Cunha.
Okay, good.
Genius.
Great
move.
Brilliant. Havertz didn't even play.
Still not enough money because I was thinking, I don't want to get rid of my City guys going into this match where Spurs are going to start Ben Davis and Dragusin at center back. I need to have City at home for this shellacking, so I'm going to triple up. I want to keep Phil Foden for this. This is his last chance. So who's my other expendable midfielder? Well, it's James Maddison. I need to get money to go from James Maddison to Cole Palmer. I absolutely have to do that. That's a no-brainer move last week. So Trent was going to be sold no matter what.
Yep. Okay.
And so Trent went out for Lewis Hall just to make up the money.
By the way, he almost scored today.
Great. I'm glad he almost did.
And then scored on twice.
All of that to make James Maddison turn into Cole Palmer. And so it's a complete loss despite Cunha scoring a 16 because the other points I threw away was a 16. Madison and Cunha are your top 2 point scorers this week. And I'm just like, I don't know that I probably would have benched him even if I had kept him.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure I would have played Morgan Rogers at Crystal Palace over Madison. And the reason why, he played 89 minutes in this game, which was a perfect follow-up to the 45 minutes, 61 minutes, 8 minutes, and 6 minutes he's played in the last 4 games. So there was no reason for me to think that he was even going to start against Manchester City.
He didn't start the last 3.
Right.
2.
So he gets yanked for half 4 games ago, gets pulled early, and each time it was because his performances were lacking. So then manager sending him a message. He subs on for 8 minutes, scores that goal 3 weeks ago. Last week subs on for 6 minutes and does nothing. And this week, of course, 2 perfect runs, 2 shots, 2 goals, a clean sheet, and 3 bonus points. Why wouldn't have I? I mean, of course.
That's so brutal, Brian.
His 2 touches in the box were those 2 goals.
Oh.
And it's just like
it was his birthday.
Perfect. It was his birthday. If I had known it was his birthday, then I would have
sold him.
Everything would have been different. Yeah. What was I? How would I have ever? Why would I have ever done that?
Just brutal. All right. I want to be able to say I think it's a good idea to go to him, but I think we got to see a little bit of consistency.
He's still like we talked about it weeks ago. What the reason why I got him in the first place? He is their most consistent performer. Yeah. He is still their highest point scorer for the season. As good, we talked about it. You know, even
Isn't that just insane to think what you just said is so contradictory. All the reasons why the manager's sending a message and he's their most consistent performer. That just sums them up to a T.
Even for Porro, like back-to-back returns. So an assist against Ipswich. So even if you had him last week, if you had him, you were starting him and you were hoping for a lot more than an assist. He's had 3 total attacking returns this season. And that is the reason that we've said all along is that Porro is such an attacking, he's an attacking wingback. He's 20 total shots this season, which is number 1 for all defenders. 5 shots on target is tied for 3rd most for defenders, which isn't a lot, but still it's still a lot for a defender. He's only had 7 shots in the box all season out of his 20. So, all right, that's less attacking, but whatever. It's still he's taking a lot of shots. He's had 1 big scoring chance all season. That seems extremely low, all things considered. And just as a reminder, Destiny Udogie is so vastly out-touching him in the opposition box. It's not like Porro's had 19 touches in the box all season. That's tied for 11th. That's the 11th highest total for defenders. Okay. Udogie is 3rd most, 35 touches in the opposition box. Wow. Like Porro getting this performance, of course, it's perfect. I mean, I would love to see how many benches he was on going into this week, even if you had him. How could you have felt good about having him in this game in advance of it?
Yeah, no, I hear you. It just
Well, just to everyone else that you had or were thinking of, they all got something. So everyone else got either a goal or an assist. Like Son gets an assist, Kuliszewski gets an assist, Brennan Johnson scores another goal.
Solanke got the assist.
Solanke gets an assist. You get a clean sheet for all the defenders. So you're not starting Ben Davis or Dragusin if you had him, and I don't know how many people have Vicario, but yeah, I mean everybody got something, and that's exactly why I'm saying who do you want? Do you want Kuliszewski? He was amazing. He had an unbelievable performance, so good that was the one guy that Pep was asked about. That's the one guy he singled out as just such a strong player, loves everything about his game. It's probably the one guy that City fans would probably like to have in their midfield right now.
Yeah, no kidding.
So, whatever. But, he's been kind of, look at his performances. It's 1 and 10, and then 1 or 2, and then an 8, and then it's just been back and forth with them all season. Look at the per 90. You want some per 90 numbers for Heung-min Son? Just
Definitely.
as sure. So last season, through the first 12 games, Son has missed 3 games this season. So that's per 90 is the better way to look at it. He's got 3 goals so far this season. At this point last season, he had 8 goals. Son was a nailed essential midfielder at this stage of this at the beginning of the season.
Pretty much.
Last season. This season he's attempting 2.1 shots per 90. At this point last season it was 2.84.
Okay.
I think you can probably envision what the heat maps look like for Son this season compared to what it did last season.
Right.
Shots on target, he's at 1.1 this season. He was at 1.46 last season. So like 1.5 to
he was
just
playing
over 1.
Really central at the beginning of last season as well, because they were short a striker.
Yeah.
Which is a factor.
Yeah. And so that is the heat map difference. This season, it is a gigantic blob of orange and red on the left and not very much going on centrally. Last season, it was like a nice blended left center kind of heat map, touch map for Son. He is touching the ball in the box more. So he was at 6.6 this year compared to an even 6 last year.
Right.
And just he's creating more chances. Almost 3 chances created per 90 this season, 2.7 compared to 1.7 last year. So it's exactly that. They're just asking him to be more creative. It's why he's not like maybe the penalties. They're just not drawing them a lot. So you're not buying him for penalties. You don't want.
I don't even think they've had a penalty this season yet.
You don't want Son on the potential of penalties. You want him as a goal scorer who also gets penalties. You don't want him as a facilitator. But that's the thing. Like Dominic Solanke, like an excellent game, but more feeding, less eating. And so that's the thing. I
like the striker to be hungry and eat.
Right. You want your striker to be hungry.
Yeah.
How many goals would Harry Kane have in this team?
Wow.
Probably
again
3.
Like
they gotta find a way to lose.
He'd be outscoring Holland. We know this.
The one guy you truly might want to buy is Fraser Forster. If you're thinking about it, Vicario said
because of his price.
Yeah,
no, just because of his good looks.
Because he's a man mountain.
Yeah, because he looks like a shaved Yeti.
Facts.
Vicario
he's a
fractured ankle.
4.3.
Vicario said he played for 60 minutes with that fracture.
Yeah, he got some major kind of Rambo points for me when I heard that he finished that game with a fractured ankle. Like that guy kind of. I mean, that's a serious grind. Like that's some serious tough boy.
Dave's second
big boy
favorite
pants.
team. No,
that's no. Look, you got to give someone credit when they show up and do that. Like that's some serious credit.
According to most recovery websites you can look at for injuries, 6 to 12 weeks is what's set as the recovery time for an ankle fracture. I just think the soonest you're going to see him walking is February.
Right.
Without a crutch or a boot.
What his physios, well, someone in the Spurs organization will be asking is, hey, if you would have let us know when you heard it, you might have been out 6 weeks instead of a possible 12 because you playing on it made it worse.
Could be.
I hope that's not for him, but hey, wow, massive big boy pant credit to finishing that game on a fractured ankle. That's impressive. All right. Anything else on Spurs or City? Because there were a few other teams that played.
Does anything in the schedule? I mean, honestly, like looking through the schedule, like they're home to Fulham this week. I don't know. They're at Bournemouth next week. I don't know.
So the question is
next game week, I should say, and they're home to Chelsea, at Southampton, home to Liverpool. After that, that's the first game where you're like, I don't love that, but
yeah. Well, are you buying? But are you buying?
That's what I'm saying.
They are so.
No, we don't know who to buy.
That's why I'm saying Brennan Johnson benched here, comes off the bench and scores a goal anyway.
Of course he does.
So that's why I'm saying the reliable minutes, the most reliable minutes are. It's going to be cool. It's going to be Kulishevsky. It's going to be your goalkeeper.
Kulishevsky at a 6'3".
Poro Nudagi, assuming they don't get hurt. Because they don't really have they don't have anybody who's like there's not a lot of competition for those spots.
Yeah.
And then Solanke's not getting benched. Richarlison's not coming back. He's not stealing minutes from someone. Solanke's too good and too important to what they do. So there's like the stability guys. Son is probably too expensive, but he is an option. And now look, how do you not keep the top point scoring player for that team as an option? Like James Madison played a perfect game in that game.
He's the same price as Mbeumo, who's gone a little cold.
Yeah.
So would you rather?
And after this week, I know a lot of people are pointing it out, but the fixtures really for a while for Brentford, they are not great.
No.
So
home Leicester is fine. You said after this week. Then they're at Villa,
right.
Home Newcastle, at Chelsea, home Villa, at Brighton, home Arsenal. That is definitely a tough stretch.
Yeah, like if you wanted to have someone from there, like I don't
You're right.
know.
Hey, going to Madison over Mbeumo right now, I would probably bet over the next 5 match weeks Madison would outscore Mbeumo.
Yeah, I mean,
and I currently own Mbeumo.
5 over the next 5. You think?
Yeah, give Mbeumo this week. That's the thing, though. Like, if you're telling me though, like now, especially on go back to the Haaland sale. If I'm going to sell someone, if I'm going to sell Haaland to get Salah in my team, like it's pretty easy to get. It's pretty easy to get Mbeumo to Salah after you sell Haaland.
Right.
I am rethinking, like, even though Bruno Fernandes, like,
you can get
going from Bruno to Salah is a little easier. It's not a ton difference between Bruno and Brian and Mbeumo, but
all right.
But either way, like, there are options. I'm just saying, like, yeah, if Madison is one of your 5 midfielders, I don't think
it's a bad thing.
Yeah, he's still on free kicks. I mean, he's the other goal he scored in this run is from that crazy free kick he took against Aston Villa at the end of the game,
yep.
And it was perfect.
Yep.
So he's not bad. I think it really was like I don't know. I thought it had something to do with the manager. I thought there was some spat there. I don't know if it was a message sent. Hopefully,
message received. Yeah.
Yep. So anyway,
Madison at 7.5 or Jared Bowen at 7.4.
And Bowen looked really good today. He did not get on the score sheet, but boy, he was
an assist.
Okay,
and a bonus point.
But he definitely looked threatful.
So that's my question: is that Madison at 7.5 or Bowen at 7.4? I mean, obviously, again, they've got Arsenal, but then they've got Leicester, Wolves, Bournemouth, Brighton, Southampton.
Yeah,
it's not amazing,
no,
but it's not significantly worse or better than what Tottenham's dealing with either, right?
Listening to, I guess, West Ham manager was kind of given, this is what I had heard from sources, that he had possibly 2 weeks to turn things around, or at least to do something. And
Lopetegui.
And today's performance from the West Ham, the entire West Ham team, was such that
they were up for it.
They were up for it, and it was like they were playing for their manager.
They look good.
Yeah,
that's the best West Ham has looked all season. Today.
Your last game without Kudus, that lunatic, is Arsenal, and then that 5-match run.
Of course, he gets to come back for Arsenal.
No, he's out against Arsenal.
No, he's out against.
Oh, okay,
I'm
good.
saying,
okay, good.
You're fine.
You do not have to face. You do not have to face that ball of knives running at you this weekend, Dave. But after that 5-match run there is at Leicester, home Wolves, at Bournemouth, home Brighton, at Southampton. So that 5-match run comparative to,
I would rather own Bowen.
I don't know, man. That's a tough one.
No, that's interesting.
I already own Bowen. I'm not selling him for Madison, but just throwing that out there.
Everyone's
been
say
sleeping on Bowen.
Bowen
I think he's
outscores Mbeumo in the next 5-6 match weeks. Would you want to take me on that?
No, because I own both of them. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with Mbeumo yet.
It's just that it's not. They're not relying on Jared Bowen to be the shot. He's more of the creator.
Yep.
And he is the scorer.
I was noticing that very much so.
So that's the one thing. But I mean, look, even down a man, I think you'd still expect more from Brentford against Everton, and they've just been, I don't know. Brentford this is again, it's hard whenever you have someone else on the same team who's putting your performances to shame. So you got, Brighton did it again, where Danny Welbeck plays 87 minutes and gets outshined by João Pedro's 61 minutes. So one of the most consistent performers for the season is Danny Welbeck, but 2 weeks of João Pedro being very good in a total of 80 minutes.
Right.
And now all of a sudden Danny Welbeck is chopped liver. But that's why I'm saying, like, when you have Wissa, who's the more recent, he's got the more recent big score, and there's no penalties for Bumo to take. Like, all of a sudden you're like, maybe I could just cover Bumo with Wissa. I mean, but you're not picking Wissa either. I think if you're selling, you're getting rid of entirely, but yeah. I don't know.
All right. Let's move on to league leaders setting all kinds of records. Can't be stopped. Liverpool, not even the mighty Southampton could stop them this weekend. My criticism of Liverpool this weekend was this, and Travis, I know you probably see it differently. For as good as they have been, they've been by far the best team in the league, not even close. Points in the table show it. And there is something to winning ugly, and I know that you will say that.
Sure.
What surprised me was, number one, how absolutely bad Southampton was.
Yeah.
Their play and spacing in that match was so beyond poor. They would have lost to League Two. Wrexham would have absolutely put it on Southampton this past weekend. Their spacing and their ability to just put 3 or 4 passes together was such garbage. It was like they had never played before. And so in watching that and then watching Liverpool struggle to score on them, they needed, a horrible goalie moment to score. They needed a turnover in their own box, a clearance that literally was past to Szoboszlai, 1 foot outside the box, and Szoboszlai takes one touch and then puts it in the back of the net. Yes, Travis, I understand what you said on Slack. Hey, don't discount our pressure. In that moment, any defender, the defender was not under pressure. He just needed to clear the ball, and he kicks it right to Szoboszlai in the edge of the box, which was just insanity. Hold on, before you go.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know what in the hell. It's not McCarthy. McCarthy was doing, coming out of the goal when Salah's running at him, and then Salah gets just touch in the, hey, mom, wife's calling me. Sorry, shutting you down.
Tell her we said hey.
Hi.
And so, and then the third goal was the literally junior league level handball by Sugawara in the box. So that's what Liverpool needed. Yes, Salah put one off the goal. Off the goalpost and the inside, Brian's favorite, inside of the goalpost, and it didn't go in. So I'm not saying that Liverpool wasn't threatful, and there was times Liverpool looked really, really good. It just was shocking to me how, like, that game shouldn't have even been close at all. Like, nothing should have been close on that at all.
Yeah, I mean, Southampton is terrible. Let's just state that. However, they have come out and given a couple of teams a game. And so they are capable of, making you work for it, I guess. The big thing for me was Southampton has had a very terrible time this season with mistakes leading to a goal. Their defense did against Liverpool the same thing that they did against Newcastle, the same thing that they've done all season. They by far,
their manager wants them to play out of the back, and they don't have.
They are sloppy.
Personnel.
They are just sloppy.
They got Jack Stevens back there looking like looking like, and this is don't want to throw too much shade because I am one. Looking like put a hard hat on that guy, put him on a construction site, and he looks like any construction worker in London.
Yeah. So all that to say, I think that the important thing for me as a Liverpool supporter is they finished those opportunities.
It's fair.
Right?
Totally
fair.
And
because there has been plenty of seasons where they wouldn't.
All right.
Right?
That's a decent point. And again, I'm not trying to throw shade on him because, again, if you're going to win a title, every title-winning team has to win ugly games.
Yeah.
I just was so shocked that Southampton was so bad. They were so bad they couldn't even make the game ugly. And it just didn't seem like there was a ton of creativity. And they weren't they were kind of packing it in, but it wasn't egregious.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. I mean, they scored as many goals as anybody has scored against Liverpool this season, which is an incredible feat.
And I couldn't believe that they did it because they looked so bad. So again, that's just my
it was a sloppy game
on it.
And Andy Robertson is
I think it's
probably going to be relegated to the bench.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that, Travis, because that was a legitimate question asked by
everyone.
Well,
everywhere.
I think anybody that watched probably had that question.
It's not the first match that he's had where he has been the weakest link on the field. It might even be the third.
I thought Bradley was good.
Yeah, he seems fine. He's always pretty good.
It was FPL Raptor asked. He asked, "Has Robertson just given up with football this season?" Is that too far, or is that fair?
He's legitimately trying. That's a thing. He's just old.
Oh.
He's just old. I mean, you know what that's like.
Well, it kind of showed too.
I can barely
the penalty he gave up. Whether it was like in years past, he would have been there a half step sooner and made
then it would have been out of the box.
Made sure it was out of the box. Yeah, it was completely borderline on the line, and I agree with the VAR. Like they had to go. There wasn't enough evidence to change the call in the field.
If they would have called it a free kick outside the box, it would have stayed a free kick outside the box. It's just silly that we're dealing with high definition and we can't get an answer that everybody's.
I agree with that.
There, at the end of the day, it was a mistake. He got punished for it, and he deserved to get punished for it. That just is what it is. Tsimikas is probably going to play against City. I would imagine. I don't think they care about Real Madrid in this capacity, so Robinson will probably play again. But that's going to tell us a lot.
He'll be playing against Bernardo. You know what I'm saying? Like Bernardo's not going to shred him down that side. Connor Bradley will be playing against Sevilla, who does nothing. I'm just saying.
I think obviously Real Madrid. The Madrid match is going to tell us a lot. I would not be surprised if it's Robertson again and Tsimikas gets saved for City.
Yeah. Well, according to the FPL website, Tsimikas has a knock.
It's his top knot. He'll readjust and it'll be fine.
Not a knock.
Yeah.
Okay.
Top knock.
All right. Other than look, I had Konate. I got nothing from Konate, unfortunately, this game. Because he got a yellow card. I couldn't even get a 1. A lot of Konate owners out there, as he has owned 16.2%. I'm surprised that's still not a little higher. Anyways, obviously it's Salah. And, Diaz, again, any Diaz owners is let down a little bit.
Yeah,
Diaz doesn't start. He came on, but never really had a chance to do much. Yeah. Gakpo had a couple opportunities, but again, do we even know if Gakpo will start the next match?
Nope.
And then Darwin continues to be the enigma that we know he is.
Indeed.
It could be. I mean, he literally could look like the best striker in the league, and then and then do his best Christian.
But there was several Liverpool fan accounts that kind of mockingly asking the question, why doesn't Darwin score? And then there was a breakaway where he's running pretty free on the right side, and the pass gets made to the left and then dinked around a little bit on the left, and then it ends up getting cleared. Meanwhile, like Darwin's kind of is alone.
Darwin did have one pass across that was just slightly behind Diaz, which would absolutely have been buried.
So I think there was a feeling of like, normally you would feed him.
Yeah.
Or you would have fed, if it was
trusted.
Salah, you would have fed him. And in this case, he just didn't.
Yeah.
He didn't get the ball at all. So anyway, I'm not making excuses. I mean, you got to get.
Well,
how are you going to score if you don't get the ball, and how are you going to get the ball if your teammates don't?
Well,
trust
part of the
you
problem
guys?
is that not all the teammates know Aki. They're listening for here. I'm open, but he's
Diaz or Darwin.
Darwin.
Okay.
His English is not great. Communication has been a struggle. Yeah, nothing crazy on that front. I do think Virgil is worth paying attention to, especially for Vardiol owners. He is currently the top scoring defender at 6'3", which is also what Vardiol is at. Not a terrible pickup. I think this is a blip.
Probably would wait until after this.
I agree, but I'm just saying, if you're looking to move and you got the money and you don't want to risk Vardiol tanking going down, not a bad option. Obviously, there's Arsenal defenders in there too, which are
if
not
Gardeval
bad.
isn't bringing you offensive returns, which he does seem to have chances every single week. That's one reason.
That. Yeah.
I know. That's one reason why I continue to own him.
He continues to find shots outside the box.
He's your second option after Holland to score.
No question. He's got a freaking rocket too. So
he's just getting no protection, and I just don't see a City clean sheet coming. For a while.
Agreed. It's not going to get any better without Kovacic. So, all right, let's move on. We got a lot of different guys that are hot that are worth mentioning.
Are you buying hotties?
Are we buying hotties? Let me ask you guys about Manchester United.
Please no. On either.
Okay, you want to talk about Manchester United?
I guess we should. I don't know.
I said it last week. I was kind of right about another thing. Marcus Rashford. I said Rashford.
That's where I was going. So Marcus Rashford scores what, the 5th minute, 3rd minute, something crazy.
3rd, I think.
Very, very, very early. Obviously, he didn't do much after that. Nothing really materialized, but it was there.
Still.
There was clearly
he was starting striker effort for the first time this season.
Right. So the question is that a signal of things to come?
Yes.
Is that a buy? Are you selling Holland and moving on to Rashford?
It would be I don't know. I feel like you'd be doing it for Everton, and then you'd be holding your nose and hoping after that.
I don't.
You don't think he can score against City?
I mean,
absolutely.
Are you happy to play him against Arsenal?
He can score against City.
Probably not. Are you happy to play him at home against Nottingham Forest? I guess.
Yeah,
I mean,
at Manchester City,
in his day,
you're right, Brian. It's probably worth waiting a few weeks.
It is worth waiting.
Okay,
I mean, that's what I'm saying. When you're the manager himself is saying, like, this is going to be pain, like this is going to be a long period, like this, like very clearly has.
Thank you for
culture forming and
taking the bait. That's where I was going. You had that quote lined up. That's right.
No,
that's good.
I want to make sure.
I know. I heard him say, and I don't have his quote, but him saying, and I get most managers will say that, but we're going to have to pretty much learn in games because we have so many games. The guys are learning a new system. He said, I saw them thinking a lot on the pitch. Mm-hmm. And okay, so, if you're having to think a lot, you're losing a half second or a millisecond of whatever.
Yeah, I did see him say that. They're thinking they were thinking too much.
Right. But then he kind of said something after that. It's almost to be expected. Like, give us a little slack. We are changing systems. We got to do things my way.
Yeah. That's the quote is, we have two ways. We forget about the new idea and try to cope. So next year we have the same problem, or we start now, risk a little bit, suffer a little bit, and then next year we will be better at this point.
So to that end, they can put it together. Like, it really seems like
if they can figure out a way to not have to play Johnny Evans in the back, that's a huge, spot. What happened to Kobe Mainu? That kid I don't see any injury.
Were you setting us up for a who in that one, or did you?
No. He started all the way up until week 7. He's had nothing since then, and he has no triangle by his name.
Yeah, he went off to England on an international.
Did he come back?
He did.
Did he stay in whatever country they played in? Did he stay in Greece? He was the phenom who was playing everywhere and being pretty amazing.
He was very, very good.
And the kid can't sniff the pitch.
I don't know.
Anyways, I
don't know.
I wonder. Look, I think Garnacho, Rashford, and Bruno are all going to be beneficiaries of this.
Do you think? I just think Mazraoui and Dallo are gonna.
Maybe. I own Mazraoui. So, I had him this past week and was hated to see that after Rashford scored. I'm like, okay. But then I also have Onana and Mazraoui. So I'm at that point rooting completely for a clean sheet. And of course it doesn't happen. I don't expect many, although Onana had one of Onana's saves in this game was absolutely unbelievable. The fact that he saved a point blank, had to move for it shot that was one of the best saves I've seen all season.
I do like watching Onana dive where he's like 4 feet above the ground, but his feet are above his head. Like whenever he's diving, he's like,
Look, I wanted to give Onana. I think I did give him a lot of flack when he first came up, but he's earned my respect as Vicario has as a goalkeeper. I mean, he still figured out a way to get 4 in this game, and they scored on him.
True. All right, who else do we need to talk about?
I mean, I think for Manchester United, other than if you're not going to do, if it's Bruno Fernandes, I think he still did. It was more of the same. Created a big chance, took the most shots of anybody.
Yes,
and he started in the front 3.
Yes,
right.
Yes, agree.
So
agree.
But I think given all of the other information, even now, like he's still after Salah, I think he's the second highest scoring midfielder of the last 4 weeks as far as form goes.
Probably last 4 weeks.
I think he's second only to Salah. Those 2 big performances really probably
actually on form. João Gomez for Wolves is behind Salah in form.
Okay, so I mean, I've just I guess
that's
on form the way they have it on the website. Yeah, that's true. But 4 weeks, a 4-week thing. It's Salah 46, Bruno Fernandes 31, João Gomez 27. So he is right, but he is right there. I mean, it's in the last 4 games.
But João Victor Gomez da Silva. That is a hottie that probably should be discussed, as the Wolves have won 2 in a row, and have some amazing fixtures coming up. As a Cunha owner, I could talk about saving some pound dollars. João Gomez, 4.9. In his last 3 weeks, 10, 3, 13.
Yeah.
And nothing but greener than Irish grass green on the matchup schedule.
If you wanted to...
I'd rather own João Gomez at the moment than Semenyo.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Well, I was going to say, if you wanted to save like whatever, 0.3 or 0.4 in your wild carding and you have nothing else to worry about and you wanted to go even Morgan Rogers to Gomez, I guess you could do that. He's not... Look,
he's at that price point, he's going to be filling your 5th midfielder.
Right.
And so is there a better...
He's doing
5th midfielder
he's doing
4.9.
He's doing the thing that Onana was doing earlier, where he's taken 4 shots and he's got 2 goals. So it's not to me. It's like it's 2 good results.
He also had an assist against Fulham,
right? So it's like what? That's his 3 total returns or 4 total returns for the season.
That's fair. He's doing his best Onana,
right? Like that's I think the price, it's like depends on what you want to do. Like, but I just think that's like I'm remaking my whole team, and my midfield shakeup is going to be I need a new 5th midfielder. Like I feel like you're not, if you're downgrading to someone, I don't know. I guess it still seems like Morgan Rogers. It's not like Morgan Rogers is, again, it's not like he's a bad player all of a sudden. It's just
he's just Harvey Barnes and all the stats, none of the returns. So
He's 5 points ahead of Janelt from Brentford.
I was
literally
I have him queued up.
Right. So if
Janelt had come off of the last 4 games. Before this last one, it was a 5.95, and then he had a 3 against Everton.
Harry Wilson, you're the super sub of the. He's taken over the Duran role of coming off the bench and scoring whenever he steps.
What does that kid got to do to start?
I don't know.
Stop scoring when he comes off the bench.
Jeez.
Yeah.
That's what they need him for.
Well, I mean, who knows? Does he play? If we knew more about Fulham, you could say whether he's maybe could start ahead of Smith Rowe or somebody like that. Who's he subbing on for? Would be my question. But no, I think all of those cheapy guys, like there's guys that are going to get stuff like that here. I don't know. I guess kind of frequently, but you can't. Are you really counting on that?
He's coming on.
I feel like that. I'm just saying. I feel like those are like luxury, low-level transfers.
Right.
What you're doing, you'd be downgrading someone big to one of those guys to free up money to go somewhere else. It feels like all the money is coming out of defense and the forward line to go into the midfield. So that I feel like that's the difference now is like you're trying to make the template has now moved to Palmer, Saka, Salah as your midfield trio. All your expensive people are there. And then if you've got Mbumo, and then you're thinking about
that's exactly where I am.
If you're thinking about Bruno and you're thinking like you could make that your midfield, those 5 guys right this very second, at least for one more week. And then, if Bowen is your 4th guy or whatever, it just seems like there's not a lot of room for these this less than $7 guys. Smith Rowe 2 weeks ago, he talked about Emile Smith Rowe and amazing performance. He comes off at 58 minutes this week
for Harry Wilson, who scores.
Another guy where you're like, oh man, a week ago that looked like a genius move, and now you'd be frustrated by it. So,
talking about getting ahead of the curve to get a genius move, West Ham defenders, Emerson and Wan-Bissaka both scored today. They had a clean sheet last week.
Emerson did not score. He assisted.
He
assisted Souček on the corner.
Yeah, gotcha. Is this the beginning of more to come from them? I know I was touting Bowen as a potential, but obviously they play Arsenal this on the weekend, but after that things get green patch for him.
Do you think that is it a top to bottom tightening up? Like Fabianski, you could go to like another
season,
that was another great move. As keeping Sells in.
Oh,
and Fabianski's on the bench
and benching Fabianski. Oh. I just realized that was another. That's what happened. Like after Sunday afternoon, I was like, I'm not even.
Right, I'm not looking. Not even
what
looking.
What am I gonna do?
Right.
What is looking at it gonna do? I just got to make that one move.
Just make you mad.
Yeah. Oh, jeez.
No, I hear you.
I don't know. I mean, there's nothing about the Wan-Bissaka scoring a goal. It was a great run and good find from Bowen to feed it to him.
Perfect
but
shot.
That's not his. I don't know. Is he doing that more? I know that in the last 4 weeks, your number one scoring defender because of the performance today is Aaron Wan-Bissaka with 24 points in the last 4 games. Yeah,
yeah, and that's why I bring him up. I think that he's not. It's not just scoring though. Like for him,
had 2 clean sheets,
exactly,
1 goal, 1 shot. 1 shot on target, Aaron Wan-Bissaka. That is sounds exactly right for him as a career arc. It's not anything that he's ever doing a lot of, but yeah.
I think the more important thing there is the 2 West Ham clean sheets.
Yeah,
where most of the year they've looked not good defensively.
No,
0 confidence, and they've turned now. One of them was against an Everton team that never gets even a shot on goal. And then the other, though, was at Newcastle. I mean, literally, I think that's probably the surprise result almost as much as the Spurs beating City. If you'd have told me Spurs beat City, not to rehash this, but it wouldn't have surprised me the manner it happened 4-0. As Brian said, he wouldn't have even taken the free $100 bet if someone had given it to him. But I was just shocked by the result today. Newcastle in the second half, after looking at times amazing in the first half, couldn't hardly get a shot on target in the second half.
Yeah.
Even after Harv Barnes came on, and he came on at halftime, and Newcastle just couldn't seem to get it together, and I was just surprised by that. I mean, is anyone moving to Isak? Isak had a header chance today that honestly was probably deemed a big chance.
Yeah.
But he just didn't do enough with it and hit it over the
I
goal.
mean, by transfers in, he's still fourth most. It's just the gap between the top three, what I feel like is the right now template of Cunha, Joao Pedro, and Nicholas Jackson.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know why, given fixture form and fixtures for those three, like why those three are the top transfers in for all for obvious
on top
reasons.
sells. Brian, are you looking at the page? The top sells is Havertz on the sell.
He should be. He is fifth most transferred out for forwards.
Who's number one? Give me the
Haaland.
top four.
Haaland, almost 500,000 transfers out. His price did drop now to 15.1. Raul Jimenez, despite missing probably the single best chance of anybody this week, he's second most, but that's another one. He's out 135,000 as we sit here right this second. And then Chris Wood, Danny Welbeck, Kai Havertz round out the top five. So, I mean, Havertz was
Havertz and Declan Rice, but we haven't talked any Arsenal. I want it to be known.
Havertz.
We're a minute. We're an hour and 20 minutes in, and we haven't talked Arsenal. For all those people who think I talk about Arsenal too much,
to me, Havertz was still like do I really want to do this now? Like I really did hesitate. I wanted to give him another chance, but I mean the draw to any of those other guys, Cunha number one. When it came down to it, it didn't make any sense to
his
keep
price
him.
went down, by the way.
Havertz's makes sense. It's the same with Ollie Watkins. Like Ollie Watkins scored this week. So, and Villa's schedule is, I would say, at least for 4 weeks, is real good.
Yeah.
So, like selling Ollie Watkins, the fact that he's the sixth most transferred out for forwards, I don't know, man. I don't know if I'd be doing that, even with the other guys. Joao Pedro's not. I mean, is Joao Pedro all of a sudden going to leap to a 90-minute performance? Like,
yeah, but you got to also think that Brighton's playing Southampton, Fulham, Leicester, Crystal Palace, West Ham, Brentford.
For sure. I'm just like, to me, there's a like.
What don't you like there?
Would you rather own Welbeck or Pedro? If you had to pick one.
You're probably taking Joao Pedro, I guess. Okay. I don't.
Right.
11. So I'm just thinking like the minutes. It's the same thing as before. Like the minutes for Pedro versus the minutes for Welbeck. Unless something drastically changes in the way that they're using Joao Pedro, like Danny Welbeck is going to play almost the entire game. Barring injury,
amazing, by the
way. And Pedro's
awesome.
Going to get subbed out early. So, not saying it's obviously he can do a lot in 60 minutes. He was playing 90 minutes at the beginning of the season. I just think like after a long layoff, like 25 minutes against City, 63 minutes against Bournemouth. Does he go another 65, 70 minutes? Maybe he gets closer to 80 minutes or whatever against Southampton. I mean, I'm sure it's a ramp up, but also like the turnaround is now Friday, Thursday, Sunday for them. So it's three, like just the idea
that's a really good point.
the idea that Pedro's just going to jump back in and be like, 90 minutes on Friday, 90 minutes then the following Thursday, and then another 90 minutes on Sunday the 8th. Let's get him out there a ton. Do you really, do you want to do that? Where Ollie Watkins can do that, Cunha's always going to play those minutes. Like Nicholas Jackson, I think, does get subbed
and
a
Chris
little
Wood,
early.
let's not forget about Chris Wood.
Was benched this week. So another hilarious one after all that Chris Wood nonsense for weeks on weeks. And
he did come in for 27 minutes.
Yeah. Didn't he score, but it was offside? I feel like that happened.
I should know that.
I didn't notice.
I don't recall that. You might be right.
I think that happened to you. There was I think they did score one that was ruled out at one point.
Okay.
And then I think that was right before. Was it right before Partey hit his? I'm just trying to remember. I feel like that was something that happened in that game. But look, even this,
Well, I will say this: they had 0 shots on target, but I guess if it got called back from offsides, that wouldn't have counted, right?
I guess no.
That's probably fair.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been.
If it got called back, then it never happened because it was offsides.
Yeah.
All right. By the way, I mean, if we need to talk a little bit of Arsenal did win 3-0, and no injury here with Havertz and Rice. Arteta just decided to either give them the day off or just rest them coming off an international break, which was pretty interesting.
Yeah. And you still crushed.
Arsenal looked really good.
Yeah. It was back to normal with the with Calafiori and Timber.
Yep.
They looked extremely good.
Yep.
Saka 6 shots, 4 chances created.
This is Odegaard.
That was peak Bukayo Saka.
Odegaard unlocks the peak Saka.
And Timber on that side.
That is a strong side.
Yeah.
That is a really strong side.
Which seems like that would benefit all 3 of those guys. And it makes Timber, it makes me, again, like now, when we talked about it last week as a option, because that was to me, that was a Trent to someone option.
Yeah.
Timber is high on that list for me.
And here's the other thing: if Arsenal were able to figure some things out over the international break, and they've gotten out of their bad window, maybe they closed the door on their October, which was just not good for them.
Yeah.
They're going into a stretch where they're at West Ham, home United, at Fulham, home Everton, at Palace, home Ipswich, and then at Brentford. So that gets us through the 1st of January. It's a pretty good stretch. I own Havertz. I'm not taking a hit to get rid of him this week. My gut says it will be fine as Havertz comes in. Jesus had a chance to start this past week. He did things he ran around and did some things that were good, but he's not the Jesus from 5 years ago.
The prevailing knowledge out there seems to be triple Arsenal defense is back as an option.
Really?
Would you do that? I was going to say, are you trusting the defense at this point that much? Are they back to like one good
Timber,
performance
Calafiore,
against
Gabriel?
I think why people are saying that is because they legitimately Forrest, who had good performances. I mean, they beat Liverpool. That's their one sort of mark on the season. They've performed well against most teams, and Arsenal made them look bad. Which I think most Arsenal fans were surprised with. So I'm not going to be bold there. And there's 0 shots on target. So I think it's got to make you go, huh, okay, interesting. And then you look at their schedule and you're like, okay, they might actually be able to rip off 4 clean sheets out of their next 7 games. Maybe.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they're going to, but I mean, if the team that showed up against who they
Nottingham Forest.
Thank you, Forest.
Yeah.
The team that showed up against Forest shows up. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I guess that's the thing. It just seems like
I need to see it at least twice.
That's what I was gonna say. The idea that like people talking about them again, like, oh, this is this is an elite defense. This is the number 1 defense in the league. It's like, well, not this season.
Not this season.
Definitely not up to this point.
they have a stretch over the next 7 games,
right,
where they might be able to put. But come on, one performance you can't even close to say that.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that like they have obviously had the talent. The talent is there to have done it once. The question is like one performance, and it's like, oh, the fixtures are good too. So now they're going to be back to all clean sheets only, and it's like, hey,
they got a tough match. They're playing Sporting Lisbon this week, so hopefully no injuries there. Let's not jinx it, and see if we can get the whole Arsenal team back.
But I mean, even this week, like West Ham has been such a target team, and anybody that was buying Isak or saying like Anthony Gordon's a great pick, right. Lewis Hall. I mean, it's largely the reason why I went to Lewis Hall.
If that West Ham team shows up this weekend against Arsenal, Arsenal might, if they can win the game, it'll be barely, because that West Ham team was really good today.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't like. We've been targeting that green fixture and thinking West Ham's just been such a pushover.
Well,
here.
And they have been. I mean, today was a
for
standout
sure. And that's
performance.
what I'm saying. Like, Newcastle goes back to looking like old Newcastle here, and so it's like, well, which one? Like, who's showing up? I think that's the question.
All right, let's talk about.
It's a weekly game.
Let's talk about our night moves, Brian. You've alluded to it. I've alluded to my move. Your move was...
My move is already over. My move was Philip Donald Foden straight to Bukayo Saka.
Okay, that's right. That's right. You mentioned it. I
even money, $0 in the bank prior to the price change.
My move, when I saw Cunha score his second goal and also have an assist, I owned his teammate, and I said, well, the heck with this. I'm going straight to Cunha. I owned Strand Larson.
Yeah,
I made the move a couple weeks ago, didn't take a hit for it.
Nice.
And I went in the wrong direction. And anyway, so I made the move because there's a price difference there. And it showed $0 in the bank. And at that point, if you're already thinking about a move, any FPL owners are like, okay, if there's any price changes, because Cunha's price is going to go up, I have to make the move right now. So I made the move literally during the game and brought Cunha in for Strand Larson. That was my move this week. Not taking a hit. There's no one else that I have to go get. My midfield strong with Mbeumo, Saka, Salah, Palmer. It's been the sort of the, and then my front line is Chris Wood, Cunha, and Havertz. Back line at the moment starting is Mazraoui, Gardeval, and then Tarkowski, and with Onana in goal. Konate, I was trying to figure out, do I start Gardeval or Konate? I don't think it's going to be a clean sheet, and maybe Gardeval has more of a chance to score than Konate, but I'm sure I'll pick wrong there.
I was going to ask you if that's your only decision-making regret so far this season, Dave, is picking Strand Larson over Cunha in the first place.
So far, yes.
That's a good. That's
or not leaving Holland
just
a week sooner.
We still buying hotties? Yeah. Just the other.
No, we're not.
No, just to go back to those point swings. Like, I know, Dave, that you think that buying Dominic Calvert-Lewin in the first place was idiotic.
But we'll stand by that.
Calvert-Lewin and Chris Wood are similarly priced in game week 6, according to Big Man Bacher on X.
Well,
that's a 27-point difference between Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Chris Wood over the course of those weeks. And you're looking at the fixtures and you're saying, well, it still could come good. The performances were possible, but they never stopped for Chris Wood, and they never started for Dominic.
So look, you will rarely ever hear me criticize FPL The Wire and their content.
He's not on that anymore.
Oh, he's not.
No,
they had a falling out.
No, he just got a sleeper sponsorship, and so he's off on his own propping up AI models to do stuff.
Gotcha.
That's why they put Pros in there.
Okay, big man. All right. Either way, all those guys are super smart and amazing.
They're still in one
players.
of those sleeper leagues or something like that.
Big man Bacher, though, one of the biggest. I saw his post on X, and I thought to myself, what are you doing? I don't care. Do you know who the Everton manager is? Has he ever produced a high-scoring team? The answer to all of that is no. And I'm in what world we live in is all of a sudden Dominic Calvert-Lewin going to score anything more than one goal? And look at his record. He hasn't done anything for forever. Now, it's easy for me to say that because the stats are already behind me. I would have said that, though. I know I would have ages ago.
Well, a lot of
I
people
would have been right. I'm just surprised that guys are so smart are saying that. That surprises me.
A lot of people must have gone with him because they're all selling him now, and his price did just go down today, which is interesting.
There's just been so many other amazing options that have been performing at lower costs. Why in the world would you waste a transfer on DCL
when you could buy Strand Larson?
True. Again, that was another one.
I would have rather owned Strand than DCL. Anyways, all right.
No, but Dave, to be fair, he had done his best games of the season. I mean, he had a goal and an assist in week 3 against Bournemouth, and then scored the week after that against Villa as they were going into Leicester, Palace, Newcastle, Ipswich, Fulham. Like, you're looking at and then Southampton.
Yeah.
So you had a run of fixtures that were all against terrible teams or terrible defenses. And I think that's exactly it. Like, you're looking at that and saying, those are objectively good.
But it's Everton.
But I'm saying you're looking at him on the back of a 12 and a 6. So, and it's Calvert-Lewin who's on penalties and in a team where Dwight McNeil was producing too. Dwight McNeil was a legit option
I will
for
say
Everton.
That's
why I'm
true.
saying this is why he's saying the point swing is you're thinking fixtures are good for both. I could go for either guy. I'm going to take the guy with this unbelievable run of fixtures and hope that they can continue this, and it turns to a bunch of 2s and 1s.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you're watching Chris Wood score sometimes an inexplicable goal, one shot on target and getting a goal every week. It's the other one was Luis Diaz over Bruno Fernandes in game week 6, where I know that as a person who brought in Luis Diaz in game week 6, just off a cliff on the backs of all of those great performances. If you picked anybody else, don't even say Bruno. There's got to be somebody else in there that outperformed him because he didn't do anything.
Right.
Yeah.
Then Haaland over Salah. Raul Jimenez over Acuna was another one that he had in game week 10. If you had gone, because I was another one that I did that. The case was obvious for Raul in those game weeks. Cunha had good numbers, and Raul had slightly better ones, and it's a 25-point difference between those two guys.
It's crazy.
And then for Strand Larson over Cunha in game week 10 is a 19-point swing.
I know. Well, I didn't go then, but it was.
But still,
it's the same.
Yeah.
Your point's valid.
Yeah, you could look at any of those things and say, no, and then I think that's what makes, not to circle all the way back, but that's what makes the Haaland and Salah gap so
Because
it seems impossible that it would have ended like that.
Jeez,
so
crazy. All right, Travis, any night moves for you this week?
Negative. I think I'm going to bank. I think I'm going to bank my transfer.
Take it to the bank, Shorty, what you drank. All right, that moves us to captains this week. I don't think captains are completely straightforward as Haaland and Salah are playing each other. I think at the moment, my captain, I also have Palmer, home Villa, but Saka at West Ham. It scares me not going with a Salah or Haaland because those are typically the easy picks. Travis, what is Salah's record against City? Scoring.
I don't know. Not great, but you got to think about the last three matches. The last 3 matches that they've played, it's been 1-1, 1-1, 4-1.
Right.
City win. It hasn't been insane.
I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. I just changed it back. Salah captain. It is full gas Liverpool, destroying and just heaping coals on City, and might as well, give the guard of honor, whatever it's called, to Liverpool in the next 3 matches, as they're going to win the earliest ever. They're going to, the Premier League, because they're going to beat City.
Whatever.
Actually, as a neutral, what I'm hoping for is a draw. I'm hoping for a 1-1 draw, and Arsenal win. They can gain 2 points on both of them. That's what I am secretly hoping for.
Could be interesting.
But
that would take you above. That would take you above City.
Yep.
If that happens,
it would. It would. It would put us in second. Still a long ways behind Liverpool.
Weird kickoff though this week because there's a Friday game.
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys already say this?
No, no one said that
There's
yet.
a Friday afternoon match here, Brighton home to Southampton, and then the Saturday kickoff, the early kickoff here is 10 a.m.
Oh,
So there's no
early
7:30 game this Saturday. So you'll get Brentford Leicester, Palace Newcastle, Forest Ipswich, Wolves Bournemouth.
When were the good?
It's a lot of,
when are all the good games?
It's a lot of filler on Saturday.
When
at
are all the
10
good
a.m.
games?
Those are not
What's at
great.
12:30? Is Arsenal at 12:30?
There's some fantasy intrigue there,
That's true.
but then Arsenal West Ham is
At
the
12:30
game,
Eastern time here.
which to me that's bright lights, London, a derby, and hopefully I've got the captain on Saka as of right this
Interesting.
second. I don't know.
But you don't
That has
own Salah. You don't
That
own
has
Salah.
burned me so often, though. Captaining Saka to me has almost never worked out for me.
Is it the Brian jinx? Because
Chelsea home to Villa on Sunday. I think Cole Palmer's minutes is a
problem.
I think that's a tiebreaker if
Okay.
you wanted to go somewhere.
He has played the full 90
right.
every game but two, match week 2 and match week 5.
Now I'm not sure what the manager bump. I don't know if it's a bump back or bump forward for Leicester, who have let go of Steve Cooper. So Brentford playing at home against a Steve Cooperless Leicester team. I don't know if you wanted to go so bold as to get back onto Wissa or Bumo, but that's not a crazy choice, all things considered.
Bruno versus Everton, also not crazy.
I might captain Onana home to Everton.
I was going to say your first home match.
What's
for
Everton
Amarim.
going to do? Score on them?
Yeah.
DCL's going to score.
Oh, that would be to make for some good pod fodder.
I can't wait for that.
Travis,
one.
who you captaining?
Honestly, it's probably going to be one of Haaland, Salah, or Fernandez. I have just left the captain on Haaland and ate the terrible weeks.
Okay. That's it?
That's it.
Brian,
Something I will say about Jared Bowen quickly, for if you're thinking of switching to him, just in the last 4 games, the gap between he does crack the top 5 for shots. So that's something that, like, I know he still is creative, I suppose, but the fact that he's taken 12 shots in the last 4 games, only Semenyo, Salah, Foden, Bruno have taken more.
Interesting.
So he's tied with 12 shots with Saka. So
Okay.
that's something. It's definitely positive.
Okay.
So
All right. I'm going to quickly run through the top 5 and or maybe just top 4 in the podcast league. League Dan Chalmazio, total 755. Number 2, Brian. Number 2 in the podcast league. The Tractor Boys are back. League Connor.
okay.
737. League Brett's Ballers, 734. A podcast staple, League Michael, Nirvana State, 731. And then tied with him, SOL FC League Glenn, tied 731. Look, I'm just going to mention it because I'm not sure I've ever been here before. Number 10 in the podcast league right now. Yours truly with a total of 714.
Nice job.
Hey, I'm hanging around trying to get in the top of the podcast league. I know you finished in the top 3 before. Did you finish 2 one time, Brian?
I think I got 3rd last year.
3rd last year. Okay. Very good. Tough to do because we have a good podcast league, and I love to see everyone do it. I cannot believe League Connor is up where he is. We will talk about that. All right. Gentlemen, anything else? Brian, any last words?
No, it's just been a few straightforward weeks here. I think you kind of know what you're doing. The forwards have kind of shuffled out in a way where you haven't really if you went to Evan Nielsen, if you went to some of these other like fringier guys, didn't kill you, but now like
you gotta get out, get onto somebody.
Jackson going for a goal and an assist, Cunha crushing this week, Joe Pedro doing it again. Like those. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like everything is shuffled around the same core players. So how far off of like basically those front six, the Palmer, Saka, Salah, and now crazily Nicholas Jackson, Cunha, Joao Pedro. Right. Like that's six. Who else you have?
It almost
the defenders or whatever. You hold on to whatever else. I mean, you can move wherever you feel like, but it just it feels like that's the whole thing. Is like, are you moving things around to those six players? If not, like, why not?
Yeah,
and it's just a weird spot to be in where I think I've got now 3 of those guys.
Okay,
and it's like,
yeah, I'm doing it.
See you next spring, maybe.
All right, sounds good. Well, that's a wrap, gentlemen. Awesome time as always. Of course, we said things that were fantastic and some things that will absolutely turn out to be brutal. For the FPL America podcast, this is David Smith. Until next time.